Couple of times a year, one or more of the local grocery stores will have their bagged frozen vegetables on sale, 10 packages for $10, and it's happening this week at one of the local stores. So I went and picked up a bunch of peas, corn, and crinkle cut carrots. The peas and corn are 12-ounce packages, and the carrots are a 16-ounce package. And one package fits really well on the old Excalibur trays. And you can very easily dehydrate frozen vegetables because they've already been blanched. You don't have to blanch them. I just dump them right out of the bag. I don't thaw. Whoops. I gotta figure out how to aim the camera while I'm talking, because, you know, I just have a short attention span and I get so distracted. Anyway, I just dump them out on the tray, frozen, and whoops, pick out the stems and spread them around a little bit. It doesn't matter if they're overlapping or laying on top of each other, as long as it's not too deep. I just spread them around. There's another stem, and I go stick them in the dehydrator, and I'll be right back and I'll show you the other ones. Okay, here's the corn, and like I said, I don't worry too much if it's, you know, they're kind of on top of each other. Just sort of spread them out. A few places there's a few stuck together, but they'll be fine. They'll, you know, obviously they'll thaw as they dehydrate, since there's some heat going on inside the dehydrator. And they'll all be separate and individual little corns by the time they're done. And here are the carrots. Some of them are frozen together, and like I said, I don't worry too much about that. And if they want to come apart, I'll take them apart, but some of them are frozen together pretty hard, and I'd break them trying to get them apart. So I don't worry too much about them. The only issue would be if there wasn't enough space in between the various shelves in the dehydrator, and then I wouldn't be able to, you know, slide them in. But anyway, I don't worry too much about that. And you'll notice the size of these carrots. The difference in size between regular and dehydrated is kind of amazing to me. So we'll see we'll see everything then when it comes out of the dehydrator, and I'm going to finish filling up the rest of the trays, and we'll be back when they come out. Okay, and here are the peas after they've dehydrated. They're now very small, and especially compared to when they went in, and you can hear how crisp and hard they are. Whoops. Helps if I point the camera in the right place. Can you hear that? Nice loud click. So then I will put everything. Usually I keep the dehydrated veggies in glass mason jars and vacuum seal them, and I'll show you that once I get them all in the jars. And here's corn fresh out of the dehydrator. See, little dry kernels. I've heard some people say that they grind this up in their grain grinder for cornmeal. I have stored what's called dent corn for cornmeal, which I think is more traditional. I think this would make for a very sweet cornmeal. And here are the carrots, and these are, oh, how crinkly they are. These are crisp, definitely dried hard. And again, you can hear that sound. You can hear that they're pretty well crispy dehydrated. Like I said, I usually store my dehydrated vegetables and dehydrated fruits or whatever in glass mason jars or canning jars, and seal them with a vacuum sealer. So, you know, it'd be the equivalent of having them in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, or in a food saver bag, vacuum bag. And it's good to keep keep any extra air out of there, and gives them a much longer shelf life. But you could certainly store them just in Ziploc bags if you don't have Mylar bags or don't have access to a food saver vacuum sealer. And so I wanted to show you, these are just regular sandwich size Ziploc bags. And this is, get it in frame, this is 3 packages of corn, which would be, see, 3 times 12, 36 ounces of corn. So it kind of shows you that, you know, when you go to rehydrate this or use it in a recipe, a soup or whatever, you're not going to want to rehydrate very much at a time, because if you know this whole bag, you're going to have, you know, 2.5 pounds of rehydrated corn, and you know that might be a little startling. This bag is 2 packages of the peas, or 24 ounces, and this one is a little more surprising. Okay, that bag is a little more than half full, and that's a full 3 pounds of the crinkle cut carrots. So the carrots lose the most moisture, or perhaps had the most moisture to lose would be a better way to say it. So you know, you always need to keep in mind when you're using dehydrated vegetables, they're gonna get a lot bigger when you rehydrate them, and you know, it's easy to just toss a handful you know, in a pot of soup as you're cooking, but you know, keep in mind that a handful of these carrots is going to end up being a lot bigger after it's rehydrated than a handful of the peas. So you might want to do some experimenting, or even rehydrate a little bit, you know, before you just toss it in to whatever your recipe is. And we'll be right back and show you how I vacuum seal my jars. Okay, I was going to show you a little nifty trick I figured out using the Food Saver canister, but the Food Saver unit itself seems to have gone AWOL. I can't find it in any of the places it's supposed to be, or any of the places it probably wouldn't have been, and so my guess is I probably took it upstairs for the neighbor to use and haven't brought it back down yet. So anyway, I'll just tell you about it. I had debated about whether I wanted to get the little mason jar sealers. There's one that fits a regular mouth jar and one that fits a wide mouth jar, and we've seen people, you know, demo those on other videos, or whether I wanted to get a canister that was large enough to vacuum seal jars in. And it's become very difficult to find the canister that most of the people I've talked to use for sealing quart jars. Evidently there was a problem where it would develop cracks over time, and it wouldn't hold a vacuum. So I'd been looking and looking on the internet and trying to find a canister that a quart jar would fit in. And of the canisters that are available currently, the closest I could find was this set of 3, and but I couldn't tell from the measurements. It seemed like it would be, the measurements listed on websites suggested that it was taller than a quart jar. But my question was whether that was the exterior measurement or the interior measurement. And they were about, you know, ranging from 20 to 25 for the set of 3 canisters, plus shipping, and I didn't know if I wanted to, you know, invest that much and then not have it do what I wanted it to do. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was up at the outlet mall in one of the kitchen stores, and they had it for $19.99, and so I bought the set on a whim, and I figured, well, if it doesn't do what I want, I'll just list it on eBay like everybody else. Or just, you know, use it to put, you know, stuff in that I want to vacuum seal. So anyway, I got it home, and the largest, I'll get in there on it, the largest canister The box says is, let's see, if we can read it, 2.5 quarts or 2.4 liters. And a quart jar fits in it, but just barely. The little gizmo on the bottom of the inside of the lid, that evidently is some part of the mechanism of sucking the air out, touches the top of the lid. And if I put them in with the lid and the ring on, they weren't sealing. Smaller jars where I could put a pint in with the lid and the ring, and it didn't matter if it was a disposable, like a ball or cur lid, or if it was a Tattler lid. They sealed just fine. And then I finally figured out, in the process of doinking around with it with my my neighbor who's my food storage cohort, he suggested trying it without the ring. And lo and behold, when I put it in with just the lid on and without a ring, because it's touching the top of the lid of the canister, it holds that lid in place so that the air can be sucked out, and it works great. So if anybody else happened to be, searching for a food saver canister that was large enough to vacuum seal quart jars, the largest of the set of three, of this set of three, does work. You just have to not put the ring on it. And the reason that I kind of was leaning towards canisters rather than the little attachment that just fits over the top of the jar is that because by using a canister, I can vacuum seal jars that don't have a canning lid that fits, as long as the lid, like a pickle jar or whatever, a salsa jar, as long as it has that little, rubber ring of sealant on the inside of the lid, it will seal in the canister. So I wanted to share that with you. Thank you for watching, and please, like if you liked it. If it helped you at all, leave a comment. I'd love some positive feedback. Well, any kind of feedback, but positive would make my day. Thank you.